It was the fall after I got laid off. I'd rented a cabin in the Catskills for the season. A little wood frame thing on 5 acres, no neighbors in sight. Closest town was 30 minutes. I spent most days chopping wood or walking the trails out back. Nights were silent. No cars, no lights, just crickets and the hum of the baseboard heaters. The first weird thing was the barking. It started in the second week. Always late, always distant. Not a coyote, too clean, too steady. A sharp bark, every few seconds, like a dog calling out. I figured someone nearby let their dog roam, but when I checked the property line the next morning, I didn't see any tracks in the snow. That night, I left the porch light on. Around midnight, the barking started again. I stood by the window, listening. Same rhythm. I opened the door. Cold air rushed in. No dog. But the barking stopped. I shut the door. It started again. The next day, I drove down to the hardware store and bought a motion light and a trail cam. Set them up on the back porch facing the woods. That night, I waited. The barking came again, but this time, closer. It was behind the tree line, near the old shed. Then the motion light clicked on, just for a second, then off. In the morning, I checked the trail cam. It had one clip, just 3 seconds. The light triggers, and there's something in the frame. Not a dog, too tall. It was on all fours, but its back arched like a person crawling. The eyes glinted. Then it was gone. I didn't sleep that night, kept the lights on. No barking, just silence. But I kept checking the window. Around 3 a.m., I finally laid down. That's when I heard the scratching, not on the door, on the siding, right by the bedroom wall. I didn't move. It lasted maybe a minute. Then footsteps, soft ones, circled the cabin once. Then nothing. In the morning, I went outside. I found shallow claw marks under the window, like nails, human-sized. I didn't pack. I didn't clean. I got in my truck and left everything behind. When I came back with the county deputy 3 days later, the front door was wide open. No signs of a break-in, nothing stolen. But on the porch, nailed to the railing, was a dog collar. Rusted. Dry. With a tag that just said, "Stay." I never rented in the mountains again. It was late September when I moved into my uncle's old trailer. He let me stay there while I figured things out. It sat at the end of a gravel road, surrounded by woods, with a rusted shed about 20 feet out back. The inside smelled like old carpet and cigarette smoke, but it was free, and I had no other options. The nearest neighbor was a quarter mile up the road. Nights were so quiet I could hear my own breathing. The shed had no lock. Inside were garden tools, broken chairs, and something under a tarp I never touched. I didn't think much about it at first. I spent my days looking for work and my nights watching DVDs on a tiny TV. It wasn't until the third night that I noticed the curtain in the kitchen was pulled open just a crack. I hadn't touched it. I closed it and went to bed. The next morning, I found the back door slightly ajar. I knew I'd locked it. I checked the shed, thinking maybe a raccoon got in somehow. But the door was still shut, the tarp undisturbed. That night, I pushed a chair up against the door and kept a kitchen knife beside my bed. I didn't sleep well. Every sound felt louder. Every creak stretched longer than it should have. Around 2 a.m., I woke up. No noise, just the feeling that something had shifted. I got up and walked to the kitchen. The curtain was open again, wide this time. I stepped back. I didn't want to look. but I did. Out by the shed, barely visible in the moonlight, was a man, standing still. He was tall, wearing what looked like a jacket and jeans. No movement, just facing the trailer. I turned off the kitchen light. I didn't move for maybe 10 minutes. When I looked again, he was gone. I waited until morning before opening the back door. The grass was wet with dew, and there were footprints, leading from the shed to the porch. I called my uncle. He told me the shed had been broken into once years ago. Someone had been sleeping in it. He came by that day with a padlock and helped me secure it. I asked what was under the tarp. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Old tools. Some junk I meant to throw out." That night, I couldn't relax. I left the porch light on and the curtains closed. Around 1:30, I heard something scrape the back door. Not a knock, a dragging noise like metal sliding across wood. Then it stopped. I held my breath. A few seconds later, it happened again. Slower this time. I didn't check. In the morning, I found long scrapes on the door, as if someone had pressed a rake against it and dragged it downward. I went out to check the shed. The lock was still in place, but the tarp inside had been pulled halfway off. Underneath it was a stained mattress and a stack of empty tuna cans, and something carved into the floor. Letters scratched deep. It said, "Stay out." I told my uncle. He said it was probably left over from the old squatter, but he sounded unsure. I drove into town and bought a second padlock. That night, I barricaded the back door. I slept with my phone in my hand. Just past 3 a.m., I heard it again. This time, not at the door. It was tapping on the window. Light, rhythmic, like fingernails. I sat up. The sound stopped. I didn't move. Then, 3 more taps. Closer. Different window. I stayed in bed until sunrise. When I went outside, all the windows had smudges, greasy handprints. One of them had 5 fingers. Another had 6. I packed that morning. Didn't tell my uncle. Didn't leave a note. I don't know who that man was or what he wanted. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I hear that soft tapping. And I see those handprints, different sizes, pressed against the glass, watching, waiting. This happened during my second month renting a house in northern Maine. I was working remotely and wanted space, so I found a cheap place off a dirt road surrounded by trees. It had no internet and barely any reception. The previous tenant left furniture behind. Everything was outdated. Floral couch, cracked mirror in the hallway, porcelain lamp that buzzed faintly when plugged in. The house had one strange feature. A narrow hallway stretched from the kitchen to the bedroom, and halfway down that hallway was a window. But it didn't face outside. It faced an enclosed space between the walls, like a hollow chamber, maybe 5 feet wide. No access from the outside. No light. Just a void between the interior walls with a window looking into it. I thought it was weird, but I ignored it. During the day, it looked like pure blackness. At night, with the hallway light on, you could see faint details. Wood paneling, some exposed pipes, maybe a brick ledge at the bottom. I passed it every day. Never stopped to look. One night, I was brushing my teeth when I heard a noise. A thud. Not loud. Just one dull knock. I paused. It had come from the hallway. I turned the bathroom light off and peeked around the corner. Nothing. I walked back to the bedroom. That's when I saw it. A faint shape in the hall window. At first, I thought it was my reflection, but I was standing too far away. It was someone else. A face. Pale, eyes wide, not moving, just looking out from the dark behind the glass. I froze, stared, didn't blink. After a few seconds, I flicked the hallway light off. The shape vanished. I stood in the dark, listening. Nothing. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I checked the outside of the house. There was no door, no crawl space. That gap between the walls didn't connect to anything. I tapped on the glass. Solid. Looked through. Nothing but dark space. The next few days were quiet. I told myself it was a trick of the light. Maybe the pipes cast a weird shadow. But that face, it had eyes, a nose, a mouth. It was watching me. I started leaving the hallway light off. I'd move quickly past the window. Never looked in. 3 nights later, I heard whispering. Just a few words. Couldn't make them out. They came from the hallway. I got out of bed and walked to the corner, stopping before the window came into view. The whispering stopped. I waited. Then I heard breathing. Slow, heavy breathing. I backed away. Didn't look. I slept with my bedroom door locked. In the morning, I put tape over the window. Black trash bags. Anything to cover it. I nailed a sheet of plywood across the hallway, cutting it off completely. I didn't care if it looked stupid. I didn't want to see that glass again. That night was quiet. No breathing. No whispers. I thought maybe that was it. Until just before sunrise. I heard scratching. Not loud. Just a steady drag across drywall. From the other side of the plywood. Something was moving in that space. I packed the next day, threw everything in my car, and left the house without looking back. I told the owner there was a mold smell. I made something up. He didn't ask questions. A week later, I checked the listing. The house was already re-rented, but the hallway photo was gone. Every other room was pictured, but that narrow hallway and the window had been cropped out. I don't know who else lived there before me. I don't know what that window was really for. But I still see that face when I turn off the lights. Pale. Still. Like it never left that wall. Like it's waiting for the next person to walk down that hall and look in.